Onward, Christian Soldiers by Sabine, Baring-Gould, and Arthur Sullivan. One of the most prodigious examples of Christian ministry is found in the legacy of the Anglican priest, who gave the world the much-loved song, Onward, Christian Soldiers. Sabine Baring-Gould was born on the 28th of January, 1834 in St. Sidwell, Exeter, into a well-established and noble English family. His lineage was steeped in history and prestige. He was the eldest son of Edward Baring-Gould, a retired cavalry officer and justice of the peace, and grandson to both a Royal Navy admiral and a family said to descend from a Crusader knight. The name Sabine itself was inherited from his grandmother's side, Diana Amelia Sabine, whose brother was the Arctic explorer Sir Edward Sabine. Baring-Gould's upbringing was unconventional. His family traveled widely across Europe during his youth, and as a result, he received most of his education from private tutors rather than in formal schooling. His only structured academic stints were short, first at King's College School in London, then located in Somerset House, and then at King's School, Warwick, now Warwick School. Chronic bronchial illness interrupted even these, prompting more European travels to restore his health. Nonetheless, he eventually earned a place at Clare College, Cambridge in 1852, obtaining his BA in 1857 and MA in 1860. Despite parental opposition, Baring-Gould followed a spiritual calling and was ordained in the Anglican Church in 1864. At 30, he was assigned as curate to Horbury Bridge in Yorkshire, a post that would lead to one of his most lasting contributions to Christian music. It was during this time he met Grace Taylor, the teenage daughter of a poor mill hand. Their romance, controversial at first, evolved into a lifelong union. Grace was sent to York to be refined into the ways of the middle class before marrying Sabine in 1868. They had 15 children together, all but one of whom survived into adulthood. Their marriage endured 48 years, and when Grace died in 1916, Sabine marked her grave with the Latin phrase, Dimidium anime mea, meaning half my soul. Baring-Gould's intellectual and creative output was staggering. He wrote 85 books on theology, folklore, history, mythology, and music. His fascination with folk tunes led him to collect and document melodies and their origins, and he was also active in archaeology, helping organize scientific excavations at Dartmoor's Grimspound in 1893. Yet, it is for Onward, Christian Soldiers that he is most remembered. The hymn was born of pastoral necessity and childlike simplicity. In 1865, Baring-Gould's Sunday school children were to march from Horbury Bridge to St. Peter's Church at Horbury for Whit Monday festivities. Wanting a rousing processional hymn for them to sing, and unable to find one suitable, he penned his own late into the night. By morning, the verses were done, and he taught the children the hymn on the day of the march. He modestly admitted, "The song was written in a very simple fashion without thought of publication. I'm afraid that some of the rhymes are faulty." Initially titled Hymn for Procession with Cross and Banners, the lyrics were set to a melody from a Haydn symphony and published in 1871, though it failed to gain widespread traction at first. The transformation of Onward, Christian Soldiers into a global hymn came through the genius of Arthur Sullivan, a man already renowned for his contributions to English music, and for his famous collaborations with librettist W.S. Gilbert. Sullivan was born in 1842 and rose to fame as one of the most gifted composers of Victorian England. He had a refined musical education, studying at the Royal Academy of Music and later in Leipzig, Germany. Though best known for his operettas, such as The Pirates of Penzance and HMS Pinafore, Sullivan was also deeply committed to church music and hymnody. In 1871, Sullivan composed a new tune for Baring-Gould's lyrics, naming it St. Gertrude after the wife of his friend Ernest Clay Kerr-Seymour, at whose estate he completed the piece. This new melody gave the hymn both the vigor and emotional resonance it needed to become beloved. From that point on, the union of Baring-Gould's martial lyrics and Sullivan's triumphant tune became inseparable in the popular mind. The hymn's impact expanded far beyond church walls. It became an anthem of Christian resolve and unity, sung at significant historical moments. At the 1912 Progressive National Convention in the U.S., supporters of Theodore Roosevelt sang it as their anthem as Roosevelt declared his party would battle for the Lord. During World War II, Onward, Christian Soldiers echoed from the decks of the HMS Prince of Wales in 1941, when Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt met to sign the Atlantic Charter. Churchill, who had selected the hymn himself, described its resonance as a rallying cry for a united fight against tyranny, proclaiming that We had the right to feel that we were serving a cause for the sake of which a trumpet has sounded from on high. The hymn was later sung at the funeral of President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1969 at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., and it became associated with civil rights movements, giving voice to those pushing against oppression. Yet it also attracted criticism, particularly in the late 20th century, for its militaristic imagery. In the 1980s, committees sought to remove it from United Methodist and Episcopal hymnals, only to be met with fierce resistance from congregants who cherished its message. However, in some modern Anglican hymn books, it is replaced with "Onward, Christian Pilgrims" set to the same tune. The hymn has been featured in several movies and used as a basis for many parodies, and the Salvation Army adopted the hymn as its favored processional song. Though Baring-Gould allowed minor lyrical adjustments over time, such as changing "one in hope and doctrine" to "one in hope and purpose," the core of the hymn remained intact. Today, most hymnals still use his original phrasing. Sabine Baring-Gould died on the 2nd of January 1924 at Lew Trenchard, his ancestral home, and was buried beside his beloved wife. His life was one of immense breadth: priest, novelist, folklorist, archaeologist, and hymn writer. Arthur Sullivan had died earlier in 1900, celebrated for his music that reached the heights of both royal courts and popular theaters. Together, through inspiration and melody, Baring-Gould and Sullivan created a hymn that has stirred hearts for over 150 years, a lasting symbol of faith marching forward.